All right. I am back here with another interview. One of the best dudes in the whole sport, Coach Cary Kolat, head coach at Navy Academy. Coach, thanks for joining me here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Austin. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it feels good. I'm rocking my Navy shirt here, trying to represent a little bit. You guys are doing good stuff there. All the academies, especially you guys down there. I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Get right into it. Last year you had your first All-American, David Key, 184 pounds. Um, on my notes here, I said a little surprising to some, maybe not to you guys, down there, but came in as a 25th seed, right? Made the quarterfinals, grinded out some close matches. Even EIWA's eighth seed came away with third place. Kind of turned on at the end of the year. Did you just kind of see that going into the postseason, or was that kind of, taken by surprise there? He was a senior
Um,
last year, kind of going out with a bang, right?
yeah, no, I wouldn't say it was a surprise. David Key could he would always go through some hot and cold times as the season went on. I'm really not sure of time he was like totally consistent. But man, he always had the ability, always had the talent, did the work. And so, for David going into the EIWA tournament seeded eighth didn't really shock us. What we said somebody's going to get stung because he always did find a way typically to turn it on at the end of the season. You could always count on him in the Army Navy duel. You could when it was big events, that guy would rise to the occasion. So it wasn't a shock. It wasn't a shock him going 25th, ranked 25th going in the NCAA tournament and him being an All-American. That wasn't shocking to us at all, and people, you're asking me about it and you're not the first guy to ask me about it, but David rightfully almost was a round away from being an All-American his freshman year. And to this day, we joke about it sometimes. It wasn't a joking matter at the beginning, but he in his match his freshman year, he thought he was losing in the bout and kept taking shots and getting out of position because he thought he was losing. He looked at the clock and just got it backwards, and we were screaming to stop. I mean, so he's always been close. He'll battle you. He was definitely a little unorthodox for people. Very powerful in positions that you thought you had him, and we sat back and knew that was his position. So not a shock, not a shock with David Key.
Yeah, I feel like just kind of falling to EIWA like I have. He's just like you said, kind of there grinding out matches, really in tight ones, but kind of goes in these ups and downs a little
Ups
bit
and
too. Maybe
downs.
maybe a little injury bug here and there for what I remember too, but
Yeah.
glad he
His
got
probably
healthy
his
now.
greatest David's greatest asset was he hated losing, but he was really good about he could shut down this the I guess the weight of taking a loss. He didn't let it bring him down, which is something that you have to have, and you got to have that mindset. And he hated losing, but he could turn it off. Where I see some guys, can't sleep the next night or just haunts them forever. Where other guys who use it for motivation as training, David was able to learn from it and move on to the next bout.
Yeah, I mean, you've been in a coaching game for a while. He's just one of those guys that I feel like it's always a either low scoring. If it's not low scoring, it's tight either way, right?
Yeah.
Does that get your nerves up a little bit, or is that
That
kind of
or he
that's
could
David,
blow it
man?
up. Yeah, or he could blow it up. I mean, his freshman year at Nationals, I think the guy threw him Wisconsin, I'm pretty sure, threw him to his back. He threw him to his back again, and wound up pinning the guy.
Wow.
So he could have those kind of barn burners.
Yeah, I mean, David Key, wasn't your only guy out there at Nationals. You had a bunch of guys out there. A few of them made it far. Danny Wask was a freshman last year, round to 16.
Yep.
And
Yep.
Josh Coderhant, who's been around for a while, round to 12, just one
Yeah.
win away from the podium. So coming into next year, is there anything these guys are working on in particular? What does it take for, two guys like that to finally end up on the podium for you?
Yeah. I mean, Coderhant's team captain, rightfully so. He does the work, hates losing, continually trying to get better. And he got himself in a couple positions in one match, and it changes the difference. He might walk out of there as an All-American. So I know that haunted him and tore him up, and he's doing the work to get back and where he needs to be, and he's being a leader in the room and pushing the team and really letting the freshmen or the plebes what this place is about and what we expect from them. So we're looking for big things from Josh. Danny Wask, I mean, Danny was, solid out of the gate as well coming in, got himself into the national tournament. He got to feel Danny, I know, left saying I could have performed better. And his training this summer up until, now with wrestle-offs tomorrow night, with the blue and gold here at the Naval Academy. Danny's made changes. His partner mix is in the room. I mean, he'll wrestle anybody in the lineup from the 25 pounder all the way up. He's got the ability to float and move, but he definitely has been working on making a difference and was disappointed with last year. And he expects big things from himself, and we do too.
Yeah, I mean, Waska's kind of been on the national scene for a while, being from a Blair Academy guy. Those guys
Yeah.
kind of all over, wrestle the best. So, I think that just carries into the college level too, looking for the best competition and getting out there and making available. And, a loss is always a learning experience for him, I feel like, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of Coderham too. Started at 33 as a freshman, and you guys were really high on him, and now he's up at 41 and really filled it out nice. And
Yeah.
it's good to see him be a captain and be a leader and following those younger guys and teaching those younger guys the way.
Yeah, it's been good, man. We actually thought he was going to be a 25 pounder when he got here, and then he just kept exploding on us. But 41 has been a good weight class for him, and I mean he's bigger this year than he was last year, but his weight's under control, so he's doing his thing.
Good, yeah, I love watching those guys. Anyone else that we're kind of expecting to make headlines for you guys? Any first time starters or first year freshmen in the lineup that you're expecting big things from here?
Yeah, I mean, you never really know. I think this year we have we've got more depth than we've had in previous years. And when I say depth, like real depth in the terms of we've got a few solid weight classes where, 25, I've got four guys there and three of them being freshmen, one being a sophomore, and every single one of them want to be the guy.
Yeah.
When you have that, you've got a great dynamic, right? We're pushing there. I think Brennan Ferretti, it will be the guy at 33 for us again. I think he had a little bit of a down year, had some injuries he's battled, but he's been looking really sharp. It's early, right? We got to get going and really see. But I know, you've been around a guy enough, and the things he's saying to you, and that I expect him to do really good things. At 49, the same thing. We've got four guys who all want to be the guy. So you can't go wrong with that. 57, 57, we've got John Lay back. We got Charlie Evans back. Those guys were the number one and number two last year. So I think anyone, I think we're in some fights. The wrestle-offs tomorrow, I think we're in some fights before I can sit here and say this, this is the guy. I just think we got some talent, and I think that the challenges that they'll face with each other and put on each other is going to make us a better team. At 65, we got a freshman, Dylan Elmore, was at the prep school a year ago. He's looked pretty solid just from the time he's got here. 97, we've got two solid guys. Peyton Thomas came from the prep school, Oklahoma. Josh Anthony, another Blair connection. Those two in 97 had a good one in what we call the plebe smoker to start off. 1 point match. But so we've got good depth. So I think we got to wait and see before we say these guys, but I feel good, but every coach feels good at a certain time of the year, but it's when you get going, how do we maintain injuries? How do we keep these guys sharp? Do we peak them right? That stuff falls to me and the staff. But I think we've got some good horses in the room.
Yeah, you mentioned wrestle-offs a few times. We're recording on the 17th Thursday, so your wrestle-offs will be Friday the 18th for the fans at
Yes.
home watching. Um, just curious is how much do wrestle-offs affect your opinion of who's going to be the guy or who's not? I'm sure it's a good starting point, right? But
Yeah.
you guys have a whole season to figure out who's going to start.
Yeah, I mean, we tell the guys out of the gate, look, every program has wrestle-offs for two reasons. You want to start getting these guys competitive with each other. I mean, they're going to
Yeah.
be. So now you're going to put them in a singlet. You put them in front of a crowd, that changes atmosphere too. It's not in that wrestling room. But really at this level, they don't mean anything. That's what I tell the guys. They're usually 80% correct. Usually the guy who's winning the wrestle-offs and the matches in the room is the guy. But you always got a few weights, and we tell them if you're not, 10 to 12 points better than that guy in the room, and we're talking about you beating a guy that you wrestle every day by a takedown or two.
Mhm.
We're watching everything. We're watching, tracking how many points you score, what opponents you wrestled against, who he wrestled against. I mean, we've had guys who have been on our in our wrestle off ladder, been number three, and wound up being the starter because when the singlet's on, they're out there performing, and they show up. And we look at obviously we look at practice habits too, and we look at, what the guys what he's saying with his mindset, how is he rubbing off on other guys in a positive way. But I think every coach at this level will tell you they don't mean anything. It's really like singlet on, are you going to perform?
Yeah, and that's one thing I think maybe fans are starting to realize now. It's not the old fashioned, oh, he lost the wrestle off, he's not the starter. Well, there's a lot, like you
Yeah.
said, a lot more factors into that. And you and I both know, I mean, you've been in rooms forever. I've wrestled at this level, just the familiarity with your teammate. You wrestle that guy every day, you're kind of competing against that one guy that you know so well.
Yeah.
It may not be how that replicates in a real scenario match, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's no stress. I mean, there's less stress in that kind of environment, and
Hmm.
that's why you do a wrestle off in front of a crowd. You try to see how this stress is going to affect someone, but it's not the same. It's definitely not the same. So but they're gauged. They're typically right. Like I said, 70 to
Yeah,
80% right. But you always have two weights where, we got to figure out who the guy's going to be, who's going to step up and be the guy.
yeah, that's awesome. You got, and maybe a little bit of old news now, a few months old. You got some new staff in there now. You got
Yeah.
one. I thought this was an interesting hire. Not in a bad way. Just he's been out of the sport for a while. Coach Barry Davis, um, legendary head coach at Wisconsin for a while. Uh,
Yeah.
he hasn't really been around wrestling for a few years now, at least not at the NCAA level. What made him come back, and what was that connection there, and how this come about?
Well, I've known Barry since I was a college competitor. At one time we had a little crossover. We were in the same weight class. He was on his way out. I was kind of on my way in. I was the young guy. And then my father-in-law and Barry are really good friends, So I've known him since my days as a competitor, then got to know him meeting my wife. But I've been trying to get Barry to come to the Navy since the day I took the job.
Oh wow.
So I used to have him when I was at my previous school. I used to have him come down and sometimes meet with talk with the guys. He was out of wrestling in the sense that you didn't see him sitting in the chairs, but the guy never left wrestling. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, yeah.
his mind is he knows everything about the sport. Great motivator, great with the guys. All the guys love him. And he just brings a different perspective, right? So we've got different age groups on the staff and guys with different insight and somebody just might have the right thing to say and they're just looking at it with different eyeballs. But Barry has seen it all, wrestled under legendary Coach Dan Gable, has been on two Olympic teams, and I mean so. He's been awesome, and the guys, the way I thought it would impact the team, it has impacted the team. So I'm glad we finally got him here. But I tried to hire him every year for about 3 years, and then I gave up, and then he finally called me and said I'm ready to come. So it worked out good.
Yeah, it's
And
good.
then we got Ty Eustace again, just another guy NCAA finalist. Wrestled at Iowa. Wasn't that I was chasing down Iowa guys. He was available.
Just happened,
Um,
huh?
yeah, I had a position. I'm like, okay, this could work out. Has been a head coach at the junior college level, the Division II level. He worked for Jay Robinson for years as his director of ops, so he brings organization as well. And so he's just been another perspective that we brought in. So brought him in on an interview. Enjoyed my time with him. The guys liked him. So I like the dynamics that we have. It's myself, it's Cabell, it's Barry, it's Ty. Got a new director of ops as well who wrestled at Lock Haven, wrestled for me at Campbell, Ben Barton. So we've it's good. Every now and then you sometimes you feel like you just got to refresh things. So did a little refresher and it's worked out well.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's been a theme this year, maybe, coaches maybe not so much moving, but just kind of picking up and going somewhere else, bettering their situation, which kind of happened to you a little
Yeah.
bit. You lost two coaches that had been there on staff for a while, but like you said, a new fresh, some new faces, and especially a human encyclopedia like Coach Davis, coming in
Yeah.
just bringing a whole wealth of knowledge. Like, how can you go wrong with that?
Yeah, it's been really good. The office has been I mean, we have some we always say we should put a video camera in the office because we've got different decades of conversations and stories that go on and different perspectives that we just sit there saying we should have recorded this.
Yeah,
So
that's funny.
it's been good.
Yeah, maybe we'll get like a Hard Knocks, like they
Yeah.
do for NFL teams for the Naval
Yeah.
Academy. Yeah, let's talk schedule a little bit. You have two tough duels coming up. You start off the weekend at Pitt. They're usually one of the top 25 top 30 teams, along with you guys.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, you're at Iowa State, who they took a home
Yeah.
last year. So
Yeah.
talk me through that a
Well,
little bit. What came behind? What decision? How'd you come to that decision? I should say.
I mean, we wrestled Pitt last year. We started off with them last year,
Hmm.
beginning of the year. So, told them, we did a return visit going to them. So we'll see them. Yeah, it's Pitt. It's the Whitfield area. It's Pennsylvania, right? So you're always going to have some tough, scrappy dudes on their team. They're going to have ranked guys on their team. Um, and then, then we come right back, that week. The next weekend, we'll hit Drexel. We'll hit, UNC. They'll come up. Went to them last year. They're coming up to us this year. They're going to have some solid guys as well. Drexel's, again, Pennsylvania school. They're going to have some studs, and then we go out to Iowa State. Iowa State does a really good job. They've got the big venue. They'll put people in the seats. They'll have the fire in the tunnel as you're running out. So I just wanted my guys to have a chance to get. They need to be in that environment, to be in a big venue and compete under that. And there's no better time to do it up front, right? Let's see how they perform out of the gate, see how they perform in different arenas, and then we can start looking at the stress and start working through the psychology of it for guys who need some mindset approach and talks, and then obviously the physical side and the technical side, and see where we're at. So I always try to I'd like to start off a little hard, just so we see what we need to work on. And I think every coach does the same thing, right? We're trying to do the peaks and valleys in the schedule and then finish it out and get ready for conference. But I wanted to run a little tougher up front.
Yeah, a little different from last year because I remember you guys started, like 6 or 7-0 last year, and then took a few losses, come second semester, and then got hot again a little bit. So,
Yeah.
did you kind of base this year's schedule off last year? Or were they kind of the same, or how
No,
do you guys approach?
I mean you change, you look at your team and you analyze a little bit where you're at. But just like I said, I wanted to run it a little hotter up front just to kind of get a feel for what they're like and what we need to fix. We're gonna hit Lehigh and toward the end, we're gonna hit some other schools as well, which they're always gonna have some solid
Yeah,
teams. But I don't know if I necessarily looked at it differently. And yeah, last year wasn't based on last year. I mean, last year we lost. I mean, I remember it. Believe me, I still lose sleep over. It was 5 duels in a row. But all 5 of those duels, we lost by one takedown.
yeah,
We
they
go
were all
back.
super close. I remember that. Yeah,
Yeah, one guy gets the major. One guy doesn't give up a major. One guy gets one more takedown somewhere. One guy gets a takedown over. We flipped that
yeah,
record. But that's what we talk to the guys about all the time is you have to be you have to be mindful in a performance-based team, and a performance-based team is hard to be on because that means every day it's got to be a little better. It's got to be a little different. You can't let anybody miss anything. And so we've been pushing that really hard, on that was the difference. One takedown. If you're not trying to get one more takedown in practice and you go out in the duel and you're just trying to win and you're not thinking about the team behind you, and if I get one more takedown, that really gets the team over the hump. I mean, we flipped five losses to 5 wins,
yeah.
just that.
Especially with 3-point takedowns now. Those takedowns are worth a lot more. And it sounds silly, cliche,
Yeah.
but as you've witnessed and a lot of people witness, that's a big turnaround compared to the 2-point takedowns we're all used to.
Yeah. 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 Majors can happen a little quicker. A takedown and a turn. Turns are huge,
That could be the
turns
match
are
right
huge
there.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, they have to really look at those things and try to, just scrape another point somewhere along the line and about.
Yeah. So you guys, one of your last matches in middle of February is your annual Army Navy duel.
Yep.
Last year they came in to your house, squeaked out a 1-point win, just kind of like you were mentioning there, and
Yep.
now you guys are going up there.
Yes.
So what's that rivalry like? I'm sure you guys have a little extra emphasis on beating that team, and you guys are both just solid teams, just improving every year. So what's that been like since you've been the head coach
Yeah,
there?
no, I mean, the Army Navy rivalry is, I've been here. I'll be starting my 5th year. Yeah, it's a real thing. We tell recruits that it's going to be an environment, and Athletes look at things two different ways. They're gonna, you either say, walk into the arena and say, "Wow, I get to wrestle in here," and or, "Oh wow, wrestling." I feel like, your mind's going one way or the other, and that's what you try to get ready for. Is that it's not like it's the same as any other bout you would step into, and you have got to be able to block out the arena, block out fans, not change your wrestling because all of a sudden it's the Army Navy. So it's the same guy at the end of the year. All of a sudden they start making changes when they're getting ready for the national tournament. And that's the biggest mistake. Even no, you don't change. You train the way you want to compete, and you compete that way. And the changes happen in the training room. If you need to push pace more, you push pace more, so it comes out in competition. You need, to add technique or fix a situation that happens in the practice room, so it comes out on the mat. And so you need that guy who can understand that you don't make changes. You compete the way you would, and nothing affects you. And the best guys do that. The national champions, they do that. They also walk into big venues and say, "I'm going to put on a show in front of 15,000 people." That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, it's I think it's cool too because like you said, crazy environment kind of gets guys in that maybe that mental space of, hey, this is the real deal. I got
Yeah,
this is kind of like a postseason NCAA round of 12, all American round kind of, scenario, at least in their head. So it kind of gets them emotionally and mentally ready for that kind of thing, right?
yeah,
Yeah, really cool. I'm excited for that. I gotta get to one of those matches sooner or later here. I keep seeing highlights from it, and both your programs do a really good job of highlighting those and marketing those. It's a really cool event, and
yeah,
I gotta get my butt to one of those. It's really fun. Speaking Army Navy, and you guys each had All Americans last year, along with Air Force Academy, and that was the first time that that's happened. I think in 10, 20 years, something like that.
yeah.
And I remember Coach Scott Green from Army sent out a cool tweet about that last year and said, these service academies, they're different type of athletes we're recruiting. There's no NIL involved, there's no transfer portal, things like that. So basically, a long-winded question here is: you've been around the sport for a while as an athlete, now as a coach. NIL has been changing, transfer portal has been changing. You don't really get to use those privileges as much as other schools, but what's your overall opinion on the changing landscape when it comes to NIL, transfer portal, things like that? And is it good, bad for the sport, indifferent? What are your thoughts there?
Um, I don't think it's bad. Listen, I mean, everything changes, right? Like it's changed. Okay, so they ruled and said, "Hey, these kids and athletes deserve to get paid." So that's the ruling. So we're gonna have to change with it. I think everybody has got to change because it's a business now.
Yep.
People got to stop getting their feelings hurt. People are going to cut deals. You're here to, here's the amount of money we're giving you, and they don't give it to you unless you're winning. The transfer portal is not going to be any different than in Major League Baseball, where mid-year they're sending some dude to another team, right? So that I think it's going to take time for people to adjust to that, right? You hear people, kind of crying about it when every time somebody leaves, no loyalty. But we're in a professional system now, is what we're in.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I'm not, so I don't get as fired up as the fans do, right? But I guess in major league sports or pro sports, they get fired up there as well when somebody jumps ship. But I don't think the coaches do. I don't think the athletes do. So I think at some point we're going to see those dynamics change. But the one thing I don't like about it, and I do like where I'm at, yeah, we're not going to be in that game. First of all, the Naval Academy is, you're getting an NIL deal. It's coming on the back end, and it's going to come with medical benefits and a career and a retirement. You're in a great position. I mean, our guys in the first 5 years we figured out of their career, depending on where they could be stationed at, they're making 430K and up, in the
Wow.
first 5 years of their earning power, right? So they just catch it in the back end, and they probably catch it at a more mature time in your 20s where you're not going to, blow your money, right? There's going to be a lot of kids we know blow their money. Um, but the part that I'm glad I'm not involved in is, you still need a team. You still need a team to win. You still need a team of guys. And the part that they're going to miss out on, and they're not going to realize it until it's over, is that, like, when you do something now, I still remember, wrestling for my high school coach and my team, and we had never won the team championship, and we got it done. And we started at a certain point, and it was the same guys from the time we were wrestling junior high on up. You build those bonds. And that's what the Naval Academy is still going to offer. We get studs, we get hammers in our recruiting. We were 20, I forget what we finished at, 24th, 25th. I mean, it's in the 20s, so I'm not jumping up and down about it, right? But so we're building teams, we're building guys. So we're gonna have that environment that they're not gonna offer. The professional side of it, yeah, you're gonna get some guy in there. I've been, say I've been wrestling for Austin Summer for 2 years, and you love me, and we're building the program. It's great, and then all of a sudden you bring in a guy for 50 grand or 100,000 at my weight class. I already know who's starting.
Yeah.
Right? That's the part that people are going to have to get used to. And I tell kids in recruitment, if you know that school is giving out NILs, whether they're doing it through the booster, the back channel, or whatever it is, which we know what's going on, and you're not getting one, you're not the guy.
Mhm.
And so that's where it sits. Here, we're going to take care of them. They're going to be set. They're going to learn a lot. They're going to have a unbelievable career when they're done, a professional career as an officer or as a civilian. I mean, Naval Academy grads are taking care of the rest of their life, and so That's the part that those guys are going to miss out on. That we're not going to miss out on is building that team.
Yeah, it's yeah, just to add on to a few things you said there, some of these wrestlers are making t two or three times more than the head coaches per year, which is like,
Yeah.
how do you control, an attitude like that? Or, if there is an attitude that comes with that, but there's a lot of baggage that it's like, hey, I'm making more than you. Don't tell me what to do kind of attitude. And it's like,
Yeah, and
I don't
I
want to go
remember
with
I
that.
remember watching this in pro football because that happens. This is the things I think we're going to wade through. We're going to learn. We're going to
Yeah.
learn how to do this, right? We're going to learn
Yep.
how to manage a team. We're going to learn how to manage a guy who all of a sudden thinks he's a rock star coming out, but still has a lot to learn. But we're still talking about giving a lot of money to a high school kid. Every time every time a guy steps on the mat, I'm not the guy wrestling. So I'm like, do I have this guy ready? Do I have his mindset? Is his mind ready? But now they're just, and they're going to cut your head off if you're not performing, but they'll jump in the portal. We'll go somewhere else. It's the nature of the business. And that's where we're at. So it doesn't really, I don't think about it much. I just keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah. And, just coming from your aspect, if you are recruiting a kid who is looking for a big NIL payday, Navy probably isn't the place for him in the first place, right? Because you guys are recruiting a certain type of person, they have to meet the academic standards, the social life standards, obviously, and, the
Yeah.
wrestling standards as well, right?
Well, that's not true. See, people say that all the time, right? Like, there's a lot of misconceptions about the Naval Academy. I mean, listen, recruiting. What I always tell people, the biggest fight I have is Hollywood. From the time you were young, all of us always saw some guy crawling through the mud, getting shot at and dying, right? That's not.
Yep.
There's lots of jobs to pick. You can want to be a frontline guy. You want to be a Navy SEAL. You can do that stuff. You want to do supply chain things like. There's all kind of occupations that come out of here on the 5-year service side of it, right?
Mhm.
Um, but we have like guys, when I got here, I surveyed my team, and 70% of them never thought about the Naval Academy or military. And then I got a phone call. Then they found out about it and what it
Oh,
offered
wow.
and where it went. So that told me, okay, I'm not looking for a specific guy. I can go recruit anybody. What I do find is sometimes where a guy says, no, absolutely not. I don't want to do military. Thank you for not wasting my time, and best of luck to you wherever you land. And then we get that guy who's like, wait a minute, I never thought about this. I get what from the Naval Academy? Where's my career going? I can wrestle there. There's an RTC there. There's all these things. We have everything. You can train. The big misconception, oh, you can't train. That's not true. We've got 3 training blocks a day. So we can go after anybody. It's just the kid who can make a smart, long-term thinking decision, right? Like my wrestling career was, you know, as successful as it could be because I always thought I was going to be the Olympic champion. That was a long-term thinking approach. But
Mhm.
that was really far out there. But in the middle, I had to do all these things to get there. I had to stay on task and stay on point. So that's the kid we get. Like, I know where I want my life to be. Wrestling's really important right now, and I want to do this thing right now. But the thing about the Naval Academy, that long-term part is on autopilot because when my guys graduate, they got a job. And that job, starts out, I don't know, 80 or 90 grand out of the gate, right? So that's on autopilot. You're not even
Yeah.
thinking about it, and you're set.
With no school loans on top of it too, right?
No school loans, VA loans. I mean, it's crazy all the stuff people always ask me like, "Hey, go back." Yeah, absolutely. Like I go back to now. I'll be honest, I wouldn't have gotten into the Naval Academy. So that, there is a standard of academics. But look, wrestling has changed. When I competed, we used to say if that guy went to the an Ivy League school, oh, he's done. He doesn't care about wrestling. That was what we,
Yeah,
and then look how the Ivies have just reshaped and
that's
changed,
changed a
right?
lot now. Yeah, I agree.
Yes, because kids are thinking about their future. Parents are thinking about their kids' future. Like, so they're trying to set them up and more prep schools. Like, I don't even remember hearing about the national preps when I was an athlete. I don't remember hearing about the national preps when I was in college, and now it's a tournament that we recruit from. We're looking for the right kid academically who's solid and where's he going.
Yeah, I mean that's it's all good stuff. I think you kind of touched on a little bit. I think a lot of it is, how much you're recruiting parents as well to convince them, like, hey, Naval Academy going to save you guys money in the long run. Your son's
Yeah.
going to have a great career to look out, afterwards too. And I think that's part of it is, and not just Naval Academy, any school really winning over the parents a lot too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're definitely recruiting both. We try to make sure like the parents are always going to be kind of that guiding light behind. Some parents are different than others, right? I mean, we'll shy away from a kid if the parent's making the decision. That's not the kid we want. We want the
Yeah.
kid who can
Yep.
make his own decision. But you have these people around you who brought you up your entire life. Now you're about to leave. It has to be their decision in the end. So that's the kid that we're looking for, and we want the kid who's I'm coming to wrestle and I'm coming to win. And so those are the guys we're chasing.
Yeah. Love it. Good stuff. Coach, a few minutes left here. Open the floor up to you. Any shout outs, announcements you want to bring up, or thank yous to staff, whoever, family,
Yeah, I mean, I'd
go
say
ahead.
our wrestle-offs are tomorrow, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I don't know when this is going out, but it'll be streamed live on our Naval Academy YouTube channel.
Okay,
Um,
good.
get to some duels if you're local in the area. You can email us. We'll let you know when it's going. The schedule's posted online. But yeah, let's keep building the fan base and blowing it up.
Yeah, I've always been like I said, I keep saying I want to get down to Naval Academy for a match, and Annapolis I heard is a nice, awesome little town there, and just at least explore the town, spend the day down there, get to a match, hang out, and see what it's all about.
Yeah,
I
come on
hope you
down,
guys
check it
do.
out. We'd love to have you, man. Anytime you want to come down.
Yeah, appreciate that. Sounds good. All right, Coach. Any last words?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Have a good night, man.
All right, appreciate the chat. Thanks for joining in, and I'll catch up with you soon.
All right, thanks, awesome.
Thank you.